Hello, Music Multiverse listeners. Welcome to Beyond Your Radio. I'm your host, Mark Kuligowski, and tonight it's another album listen challenge, best of 2023, a special edition. I want to talk about late entries. That's right, late October, November, December entries. Can we possibly have enough time to digest these? Should they count for the album of the year? Is it fair to those that have already been in the year for, I don't know, months and months? Well, before I answer that, please consider subscribing if you haven't already. Please consider leaving us some comments as well. I'd love to hear what you're listening to, what you think of this, what your choices are. And hit the like button, of course, if you're enjoying the content. Let's cut to it. Yes, they deserve to be counted. Why? They were made in that year. They were conceived in that year. From a standpoint of letting it out there. Why at the end of the year? I don't know. I don't think people forget about albums that are that good. We'll see when it comes to our list here Beyond Your Radio, as well as our panelists' favorites when it comes to 2023, how far back they went, or if all their albums are at the end of the year as well. I think when an album resonates, it resonates, and that's just what it is. There's time. There's always time. What you want to do is you should be able to listen to it and compare. I think you kind of have an idea of your 23, 40 some albums like I do. And then when you listen to something, geez, well, that fits in this category. I was actually thinking, to be honest with you, of doing a show where I had, because Peter Gabriel's record, which dropped last week, has a light and a dark mix. I was actually thinking about, geez, could I actually do the entire 2023 best of? Could I actually do it where I had a light album and a darker album? A heavier or a light album or something of that nature for 23, 22, 21, 20, and anyway, you'll see what I do when it's time to do it. But the fact of the matter is you do have the time to do this. And if it hits you, right, it just hits you. If you're enjoying that, it just makes an impression. You're going to experience it right away and feel it. And now all you have to do is go back and go, geez, where does that fit and everything? And I think one of the album listen challenges coming up where we do one album, we're actually going to end doing an album that we believe is in competition with that album directly. So now, this Saturday, I've got a bunch of late entries in the album review as well. So be on the lookout for that. And that's obviously one of the big ones is the Peter Gabriel. But please wait till the review. Tonight, I'm going to give you five albums you might have to take a listen to. I think they're worthy. Am I going to be able to get to them to talk to you about them? Probably not. They just dropped recently. Some are in my wheelhouse and some are actually not. But I thought they deserve it. They're worth it. So that's what we're doing tonight. The great late entries. Obviously, will there be some after this show? There might be. There's a couple maybe I don't even know about. But we'll see. Let's start off with Muriel Grossman, Devotion. Obviously, saxophone player. The record's very tight. It's a very good listen. It's nice. It's a lot of great sounds, passion in the music, and the delivery is well balanced. And the design of the record is very. It's not. You've heard some of this before, but it's still unique in its design and its presentation. She's a very talented musician, and the people she's surrounded with herself in the studio and what she's delivering make it a very, very intellectual and joyful listen. So if you are an instrumentalist and you will love the saxophone, Muriel Grossman's new record, Devotion, is definitely worth your ear. And next to that, in this dismal cover, it's Deary, Deary, and their EP, Deary. I don't normally go gaga over EPs, but this one, it's definitely in there for you Mazzy Star, Hope Sandoval lovers. There's a bit more sonic in this record from the standpoint of guitar work, especially early, but the atmosphere and the delivery matches all very, very well. And the music is surprising too. A lot of excellent bass that you wouldn't really pick up on usually. And the delivery of it all has some subtle changes that you wouldn't expect. So also for an EP, that's to try to do all that in an EP is not that easy. So again, that's Deary, Deary, and that's their debut. I don't know if it's their debut, but it's their self-titled EP. Next up, This is Zach Russell, Where the Flowers Meet the Dew. Country. I know. It's not my wheelhouse, right? But sometimes with the right slide, a little bit of folk and a rock, but more of a like a what's the word I'm looking for? A roots delivery. I'm very impressed. I love a rooted country. I don't need a pop in there. Doesn't really have that. And what I really thought was it was the first song that really hooked me. It's kind of Dylan-esque, although it's beautifully sung. I kind of thought the record was going to go a certain way. It did not. It stayed in a more country type feel. Great experience. And I do really appreciate the lyrical quality of this album. Um, Where the Flowers Meet the Dew could be considered. It's not your typical popular country record. Next up, this landscape here. Some of you might be familiar with the gentleman who normally does these, but this is Andrew Bird, violinist extraordinaire, and it's the album Outside Problems, a follow-up and instrumental addition to last year's Inside Problems, which I don't know if it caught me as much. I mean, when Andrew Bird does vocals, it's usually good. I don't have a problem with it. It matches. He's got a signature delivery, but he's a virtuoso of violin and composition, and he knows how to put it into contemporary. He knows how to put it into bluesy atmosphere. He knows how to put it in anything. And obviously, he was with the quintessential Squirrel Nut Zipper. So when you realize the power of that band at its point and the things that they were delivering that were not in the mainstream by any means, that made mainstream, the talent that he has and how he can bend it. And I think he bends this really, really well. The opening track is a dynamite bluesy. Again, our violin can't riff, can it? I don't know. But it's a catchy little song, and the whole rest of the record has a lot of that going on for it. Of course, when you listen to that, you need to be mindful that there's not going to be any vocal in this record either. But challenging, well done, intricate, and fun violin. It's not overly dark, as the cover would tell you. So don't feel that way. This is not an All Them Witches cover. Speaking of All Them Witches, and I'll get to that in a second. Finally, let's get to some Nectar from the Gods, right? And that's what this album is called, Nectar of the Gods. This is the Space Lords, who definitely have a great alternative instrumentalism. There is some vocal. I think it's more like a chanting, moaning kind of thing that transpires in the first track. There are only 4 songs on the record. They're very long, but groovy, spacey, and at a certain progressive level, but it never loses the alternative kind of feel. And I'll tell you why. Still feels like a rock record, like All Them Witches. For that hint of doom and sludge, but there's this Alice in Chains doom kind of feel. There is no Lane Staley vocal. There's no, but just the pace of it, the way it's delivered kind of makes me feel of the self-titled record. Without that, it's groovy, very hard, and has some bass doom stuff going on in a holding pattern that's really quite unique and fun. They're milking it for you. Maybe even a hint of Monster Magnet coming in and out of that too. Maybe more so the old school Monster Magnet. Just don't, again, no lyrics, no vocals going on here. It's a killer cover, absolutely killer cover, really well done. And a new discovery for me. So I'm going to go back to their catalog when I have some time. You should as well. So remember these 5 records, and remember, in my opinion, your late entry is not a problem, unless it's the night before I'm doing my favorites list of the year, which I hope that doesn't happen. Most people do not release their albums at the New Year's end. Again, check out this Saturday's album reviews. It is definitely going to have Peter Gabriel's I.O., and I'm hoping to have some guests. It's a monumental record to discuss, and it has a lot of intricacies, some delicate and detailed work in it, and it's worthy of a big discussion. And I'm hoping that the panelists, some of them will join me, some who like Peter Gabriel, know Peter Gabriel, as well as those who might not. So, as always, I want to thank you for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, comment. Let us know what what your feeling is on late entry albums. Do you give them time? Are you pissed off because they waited so long? Whatever those comments might be, send them our way. Happy listening.